What's going on, you guys? If you're new here, my name is Morgan, and welcome back to another video. So I've been trying to find a way so I don't have to hold this microphone so much because it kind of gets annoying having to hold this thing. Like clipping it to my shirt and seeing how that would work. I mean, it's a process. I'm trying to figure it out, how to keep it closer so you can hear me better. But it's just a process of trying to figure it all out. So in today's video, we're going to talk about why breeders require you to do a contract. So in our contract, it states that you are required by law to bring your dog back to us if you no longer want the dog. Now, I've seen a lot of comments that say, well, it's my dog now, so why does it matter how you feel about it even if I sign a contract? Well, this keeps our dogs out of the shelters, and it does not provide to the shelter population. And our dogs do come microchipped, or you can't remove my name from this microchip, and you can add yourself to the microchip. This is, again, to keep our dogs out of animal shelters. But by law, if I decide, you decide you don't want the dog anymore and you resell the dog or you take the dog to the animal shelter without telling me and I find out, I am able to take you to court because it is required. Our contracts do hold up in court and it is looked over by a legal team. And I do have a lawyer for this that does handle typical animal type cases because of this reason. Now, it is required that you do return your dog to me if you decide you no longer want it, because I am still its breeder. I'm still the breeder of the dog. Whether, no matter how much time goes by, if you decide you no longer want it, you are not able to rehome it. You have to send it back to us just to keep the dogs out of the animal shelter and to make sure they are going to the most proper home possible. Now, this goes as for saying like Ace. Ace is a puppy that I had about over a year and a half ago now. And his family got a new puppy and decided they no longer wanted him, but were considering reselling him to get the money and recoup the cost they made from him. Well, unknowing to me at the time, Ace has a lot of problems because he's been mistreated by this family. And he needs a lot of training, he needs a lot of work in general. If I go to get onto him, he thinks I'm cornering him and he does try to bite, which is a big problem because that's how dogs get put down. So that is one of the many reasons we require dogs to come back to us to keep that from happening. He was perfect. I have a sister, she's perfect. His mom and dad have no temperamental problems. But I did find out that they had been mistreating him. So thankfully, he did come back to us, and they were considering reselling him. And I told him, you signed this contract. It is required legally he come back to me. Sorry, you're out. Money for him, but it is required legally he come back to me. Or I did tell him, I am able to take you to court because she was considering reselling him. And I will, because that is my responsibility, unless it's somebody that I approve of for him to go to a home to. But luckily, we did get him back because there's no approved home for Ace right now. Ace has so many problems that until I can get it worked out, he is not able to be rehomed. He needs to be neutered, which they should have taken care of this, but that's okay. I will be neutering him. But he has a lot of temperamental problems that need to be taken care of immediately. Now, he's very, very friendly with everybody and kids, but if you go to get onto him or corner him, even if it's not on purpose, he will bite you. He has bitten me in the past. So it's something we have to work on if he can ever be rehomed, but we have to go through a long process, even if that does happen. Again, this is a process for me that I have to go through because he has had a hard life. Now, we just got another text back from Nellius's parents. Nellius is a puppy from Galadriel and Cappuccino, and they've had him since last Wednesday, and they said, hey, we don't want him anymore. We just don't want him. There's nothing wrong with the dog. He's got no problems. He's healthy. They just decided that they just don't want him. So we are required to, well, I'm not required, but they are required to take him back. And I will be taking him back. They are bringing him back in about a week. And then he has to be quarantined just in case of parvo. They did something that they shouldn't have done with the dog. And he has to be quarantined. And I have to take him back to the vet to make sure to do a parvo test on him and another fecal test. And whatever else needs to be done for this dog. But until then, he has to be quarantined to make sure he doesn't have parvo. Because I've had plenty of families decide that they didn't want to listen to me and put the dog on the ground, or had forgotten what I said and put the dog on the ground anyways. So that is a very, very big problem, which requires him to be, quarantined to make sure he doesn't have parvo. I believe the day incubation period for parvo before it shows up on a test is 13 days, which means he can't be around Dottie or Bear. So he will be quarantined away from everybody. And that's just how it has to be. But thankfully, they didn't cause too many issues with having to return. Unfortunately, my microphone went out halfway through this video, so I had to start it all over just about. I had 5 minutes in, and then I have to start over because I was 10 minutes long into this video. But, so Nellius comes back sometime this week. And again, we have to quarantine him to make sure that there's nothing wrong with him before he can go to another new home. So quarantining for parvo or anything else, distemper, worms, anything of that nature. While he's had his first 2 shots, he does need a 3rd round in about 2 weeks. But that's the price to pay with these puppies. We've never had, I think Ace and Nellies are the only 2 that ever came back. As far as refunds go, we do offer it on a case-by-case basis. You know, we don't ever offer a full refund unless it's something that is on me. But as far as this goes, this is something that was very horrible for Nelly. So it just means we have to start all over with funding him a home. But this is something that couldn't be helped. They decided they just no longer wanted him, so here we are at this position. But again, here we are. So he will be coming back at the end of this week, and this is not something that could have been helped. He's healthy, he's happy, but they just decided they no longer wanted him after having him since Wednesday. So here we are. Now, in terms of Ace, like this, for example, Ace is in horrible condition. He is just in horrible, horrible shape. We've had him for over 6 months now. And while they had honestly decided that they were going to rehome him, and I told them, no, you can't do that. Because in the contract you signed, you can't rehome him unless it's approved by me. Because you never know where these dogs are going to end up. Our dogs are microchipped, so if I find out, our contracts are looked over by a legal team, our lawyers, to make sure that they go to a proper home, and if something happens, we are covered in terms of, like, if they decide to rehome them without telling us or anything like that, that we are covered if we decide we want to take them to small claims court, because these dogs are my responsibility. I don't know the kind of homes you are sending them to, which thankfully with Ace, I was able to tell them this, and they brought him back because Ace would not be able to be rehomed and is still not able to be rehomed because he was treated so badly by this family. And if he had gone to a home that I wasn't aware of and not approved of, and before coming back to me, he might have honestly been euthanized because he has problems. He is good with me, but if I act like he's in trouble and corner him or even try to go pick him up when he's in trouble, he bites me. He has bitten me already before and drawn blood. So it's a whole thing, and thankfully they brought him back. They wanted to recoup their money on him, which I told him, you can't do that. And that's part of the reason we do contracts, because I don't know where you're sending this dog off to. I have to evaluate this dog to make sure he can even be rehomed. With Ace, I don't know if he'll ever be able to be rehomed. I'm going to neuter him, and then again, we have to work on temperament testing and see if this is even an option for us. Because right now, it's not an option. So that's the worst thing. It is not an option. So again, I have to do temperament testing with this dog. But that is why breeders do contract. It is to protect them, me, and the families, just in case. Because you never really know. I don't know where he would have ended up. I don't know if the family he would have ended up with would have been good or if he would have bitten somebody. So that is why I require the contracts. And as far as refunds go, again, it's on a case-by-case basis. Ace had been over almost a year and a half, so we didn't offer a refund. And with Nellius, I told him it just depends. It's a case-by-case basis because I could get him back and suddenly they put him down on the ground and he contracted parvo. So he has to be on quarantine for like 13 days before he can go to a new home and before I can offer anything. So there's that. But the problem, that's why breeders do contracts, is to protect themselves and everybody else. It goes as far as their health guarantee, their contract. I had to sign a contract with the majority of my dogs unless I got them from people that I knew, such as my mentor. I signed a contract with Zeus, but with Silver, Rainey's, and Mr. Marbles, and Roe, and Luna Freya, and Heimdall, they all came from her. So the same contract applies, even though I didn't sign a new contract. They'd go back to her if I ever couldn't keep them. Which, if we were trying to decide if we were moving to Mississippi, and I told her, I have something going on. Will you take Mr. Marbles back if you have to? And she said, yes. It is required in the contract, which I knew she would. I just wanted to be sure. She said it's required in the contract. Now, there's another breeder that I know that will not take any dogs back, which I think is absolutely crazy and ludicrous. She refuses to take any dogs back. It's the lady I got Duke from that I pretty much cut ties with because of how she did Duke and how I found out her breeding practices were, and I was disgusted. So, it's a case-by-case basis as far as the refund goes. But that's why breeders do contracts, is to protect their dogs especially. We microchip our dogs, so if they end up in the animal shelter, they come back to me if they can't get a hold of you. I am the first point of contact. And so are you. But you cannot remove me from a microchip because of this. It's just a whole thing in general, but I'm waiting on Nellius to come back. I'm still working with Ace. Ace is doing better, but he still has problems. When we first moved in here, he bit me pretty bad and drew blood, and it was a whole ordeal. But he's doing a lot better, but it's still a challenge to kind of get him back to how he should be. I have his mom, his dad, his grandmother, his grandfather. He should not be like this. And I found out they openly mistreated this dog. So that's where this all stems from. It's a whole process. So it's a whole thing in general. It's a whole bunch of drama. But anyways, so one more thing. I sent a puppy home to Georgia with a family with a subscriber to a subscriber. So I imagine by the time this video comes out, if you're watching this, you're home already. Thank you so much for driving down here and picking up Kit Kat. Thank you for being a part of our family, my subscriber family, which you're one of my longest returning subscribers. You've been here for a very long time. That's how you found me. And thank you for joining our family and being a part of this. And thank you for giving Kit Kat a home. Thank you. It was very nice meeting you. I hope you made it home safe. But anyways, that's why a breeder makes you sign a contract to protect them, protect yourselves, and to protect their dogs. I would never let somebody go home without a contract. I don't do that. All of our dogs are required to have a contract. If you won't sign a contract, you don't take a puppy home. I will not sell you a dog. Period. I will not let you adopt a dog. Period. End of story. I don't care. But anyways, that's it for this video. Sorry I had to redo this video without the microphone. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as usual, you guys, I'll see you guys next time in the next video. See you guys later.